James, shall we make a start? Nice. So yeah, I'm Charlotte Close. I'm a PR strategist here at Wagada Digital. I've been at the agency for about 3.5 years now. So I work across a wide range of our clients, both B2B and B2C, focusing on PR strategy and all different types of PR campaigns as well. So more about the team. So we are an award-winning full-service digital marketing agency with 3 offices in St Albans, where James is based today, Cheltenham, and London, which is where I am today. We have a full team of digital marketing specialists covering all services, including social media, SEO, digital PR, website development, employer branding, and we are HubSpot Platinum partners. And yeah, we work with a wide range of clients, both B2B and B2C. So we are also currently offering a spot check. So if you would like to have a free audit of your HubSpot account, you can scan this QR code and pop your details in, and we can get that completed for you, all free of charge. So yeah, feel free to do that. So now I'd like to hand over to James, who's leading this webinar. Over to you.
Thanks, Shah. Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm James, Digital Transformation Specialist here at Wagler, and I've been at Wagler now for just over 4 years. I'm part of the transformation team where we support our clients with their HubSpot needs, as well as the general maintenance of their HubSpot accounts. And with these accounts, I've worked on a number of email nurture flow campaigns within HubSpot, and today I'll be running through some thoughts to help you with your email nurture flows. So there are a few areas I'll be covering this morning, and we'll start off by talking about what an email nurture flow actually is, before we then go into how buyer journeys look like and the things to consider here. We'll also look at how you can define clear campaign goals to drive your nurture strategy. Then, once you have your goals in mind, we'll chat about setting up effective triggers to automatically enroll contacts into your flows. We'll also cover off why you should really consider personalization in nurture flows and how you can do this in HubSpot. And lastly, we'll cover how you can use data to optimize your nurture flows. So yeah, lots to cover this morning. So let's kick things off with actually thinking about what nurture flows, what actually they are. And put simply, it's a set of automated emails that guide leads through the buyer journey, building trust and driving action. But to do it right, you need clear goals, smart triggers, and personalized content. It's all about sending the right message to the right person at the right time. Each email nurture flows ultimately move your contacts through your buying journeys. And that leads me nicely onto what do buyer journeys actually look like? Well, they look something like this. So the buyer journey is often mapped out using the tofu funnel or tofu funnel, whatever you want to call it. And this is 3 key stages. So you've got awareness, which is your top of funnel, consideration, your middle of funnel, and action, which is the bottom of the funnel. Now, while awareness focuses on introducing your brand and capturing attention, email nurture flows typically don't aim to generate awareness, but they actually work best once the contact is already engaged in some way. So nurture flows are most effective when guiding leads through the middle and bottom of your funnels. So in the middle of funnel stage, content like case studies, white papers, and did you know we offer X, those kind of emails, they just help build trust and demonstrate value. And as leads move into the bottom of funnel stage, more action-driven content, such as requests for proposals, demo invitations, free trial offers, or let's say meeting bookings, this just helps to tip them over the edge into becoming a customer. Ultimately, matching your content type to the right funnel stage is key to nurturing effectively. So once you have your content laid out, it's time to define your goals to drive your email nurture strategy. Now, this is important because without a goal, your nurture strategy is basically just guesswork. You need to start by asking why you're running the campaign in the first place. What's the outcome you want? Is it a certain number of clicks, more traffic to a specific page, more bookings? You know, your goal should clearly connect the emails you're sending to the actions you want on your website. Then think about the pace and purpose. So are you trying to move people quickly to take action, the rapid Usain Bolt route? Or are you trying to stay top of mind until they're ready? So they're in for the long run, like Mo Farah. Uh, that affects how aggressively you push your bottom of funnel call to actions in your email content so that it's more suited to the middle of the funnel. There's a balance. Too much too soon can put people off. Now, of course, you'll want to track how well your email nurture flows are performing or if they're delivering. And this is where HubSpot comes in. So you want to make use of tools like HubSpot's campaign goals feature to track this clearly. And this can help you link your email performance directly to outcomes like your page visits, conversions, or deal creations. And finally, remember, email nurture flows perform best as part of a broader multi-touch campaign so that includes paid ads, socials, website content. Everything should work together to guide the buyer along their journey. And just going back to HubSpot campaigns for a second, so you can see in the demo there that you can group all sorts of assets together within this tool, just to give you a full picture of how everything works together. So now that you've defined your campaign goals and the actions that you want to drive, the next step is setting up effective triggers to make sure the right people get enrolled into your nurture flow at the right time. And this is where HubSpot really starts to come into its own. So HubSpot triggers are what automatically pull your contacts into the journey based on their actions or certain behaviors. So whether that's downloading a resource or visiting a key page or just showing an interest in a specific product. So let's have a look into the different types that you can set up so you can get the most out of your nurture strategies. So when you go to create your workflow in HubSpot, you'll be presented with the following trigger options. And I'll quickly run through each of these with some examples of when you would typically use these in your flows. So up first, we have the manual trigger only. So this trigger is activated manually by you and is often used for specific one-off actions. So for example, you might manually trigger an email flow for a VIP customer when they request a personalized consultation. But just one thing to note, and you can see on the left there that whichever trigger type you opt for, you can add in additional trigger types after the initial creation. So you've got that real flexibility when it comes to your flows. And then we have the on a schedule trigger. So this trigger sends emails based on a set date or time, ensuring consistent follow-ups. So to give you an example when this could be used, you could set a trigger to send a weekly newsletter or a reminder email for an upcoming event. And on the screen, I've just given a visual idea of the different steps that you'll come across when you're setting this trigger up. So you'll start by choosing your schedule criteria. So for example, I've gone for contacts to receive an email on the first day of every month, and this will be sent during the daytime. You'll then be prompted with the option to add a condition if you wish, just to help you really specify and target certain records. So for example, it could be part of a list membership, but just a note to say this isn't needed. It's just an option if you want to have it. And then the image on the right just gives you an idea of what that trigger will look like once you've fully set it up in your workflow. And in the example there, I've just put a newsletter signed up as the next step after that. So data changes is the next trigger we're going to talk about, which is essentially when a flow is triggered by changes in object properties. So that's your contacts, your deals, or companies. So an object property change could be, let's say, there could be a form submission or some information's just been updated. But you've got a few different routes that you can go down, as you can see in the left image. So as an example, if you look in the demo on the right of the screen, I've just set a trigger for when a record's property value changes. And in this demo, I've based it on when a record's life cycle stage changes to MQL. So once that happens, they can then be moved into a nurture flow with email content relevant to that status. And if they're an MQL, it makes sense to obviously send them marketing material. But yeah, loads of different setups you can use for this. So make sure to have a play and see what could work for you. Up next, we have the digital interactions trigger. And this is based on specific digital actions like visiting a page, submitting a form to download content, or it could be via paid ad interactions on, let's say, LinkedIn ads, for example. again, just tying in with that point of how nurture flows work best in tandem with your other strategies and channels. So as an example, a contact who downloads an ebook could be sent a follow-up email offering a demo or consultation. You'll also see that you also have the ability to filter with and criterias, and I'm able to select specific form submissions from certain website pages, as you can see within the demo screen down the right. Again, just helping you really segment on those key leads. Moving on to contact interactions, and this is all about call or meeting related interactions. So an example of when this trigger would be used would be if a contact schedules a meeting with your sales team, and then they can be entered into a follow-up nurture flow that sends additional resources. This is really useful because if we take the meeting books triggers as an example, this just tells you that, you know, your contact is chatting with your sales team, and then they can be put into a flow to receive marketing emails just to help you stay top of mind in between these calls or meetings that they're having with the sales team. So essentially, you know, marketing is scratching sales back and sales is scratching marketing's back. Again, just that whole idea of bringing your different teams and different areas working together. We've got automations triggered up next, and this is triggered by actions within workflows or sequences, allowing for highly tailored follow-ups based on your contact's behavior or other criteria. So when a contact finishes a workflow, it's often an indication that they've reached a significant stage in their buyer journey. So you want to ensure that the next step is timely and relevant, whether they convert or they just need further engagement. So a good example of how this trigger is used is when, let's say, a contact finishes a lead nurturing workflow, such as they're receiving educational emails about your product. You can then trigger them to enter a sales workflow that sends a call to action email, such as book a demo or receive a special offer kind of email. You know, it just keeps that momentum going and just directs them towards that conversion. And lastly, we have advanced triggers. So these triggers use complex conditions, including integrator events and webhooks, allowing you to leverage data from external applications or events to trigger actions within HubSpot. So just to give you an example of how that would look. So if a contact status in a third-party CRM changes to, let's say, qualified, an integrator event can trigger a HubSpot workflow to automatically send them a tailored email or enroll them into a sales campaign. Similarly, a webhook can trigger a workflow when a contact's behavior and an external system gets detected. So that could be when, such as a shopping cart abandonment from an event from your e-commerce platform, just ensuring that your nurture flow is highly relevant and based on real-time data. But this trigger is great as it allows you to sync HubSpot with your other tools and data sources, making your nurture flows even more precise and reactive to external actions. So just to sort of round up and summarize some triggers. So they're essentially actions that signal to your system, this person is ready to move forward in their journey. The key to getting your triggers right is knowing who you're targeting, who you're trying to target, and what data you have on them. The more specific you can be with your triggers, the better, whether that's based on visitors' behavior, demographics, or past interactions. You know, it's much better to have a small, well-targeted audience than a broad one that doesn't convert. And the good thing about all of these HubSpot triggers is that you're able to access these trigger types at any point when you're building your workflows. So you can combine these and customize as you need. And just one last thing to keep in mind on this section is blast emailing. So, you know, what I mean by that is just sending out mass emails to a big list without any segmentation. You know, as this can backfire. So if someone unsubscribes, you know, you've potentially lost them for good. And that's why it's so important, again, just to set up these targeted triggers that cater to specific actions, ensuring that you're only sending content to the right people at the right time. So now that you've got your effective triggers set up to automatically enroll your contacts into your flows, the next step is making sure that those emails really speak to your leads. So personalization is key to ensuring that your nurture flows, they don't just feel generic and they're more tailored to each contact's unique needs and behaviors. So we're going to have a look at some of the personalization features you can utilize in HubSpot and also how you can then plan for re-engagement campaigns going forwards. So one of the easiest ways to personalize is through tokens. So HubSpot allows you to insert dynamic tokens into your emails, such as the contact's name or the company name. Just one caveat to say is that you'll want to make sure that your data is up to date if you want to use these. And what I mean by that is, say if you're going to use the first name personalization as a token, as an example, your records need to be updated with, their first name, first of all, being known. Secondly, it being spelled correctly, because you don't want to be, if you don't want to spell Charlotte in a different name, that would be quite awkward. And also formatted in the right way. So what I mean by that is, not all in caps. So again, if Charlotte's, when she's filled out her form, she might have written her name in all caps at the time. When it comes to sending an email, that kind of sounds like I'm shouting to Charlotte, if you know what I mean. So just be wary of that. And if for whatever reason you can't update certain fields or you don't have that data available, you'll see in the demo there that you can add in fallback values. And in this example, for the first name token, I've just used there. So if it's not known, it'll come and say, hi there, when the email is sent out. And yeah, this is really handy as ultimately you want your emails to sound as human as possible, even if you are using automation to help you along. But this can even extend to personalized subject lines. So just like in your main email copy, just click on the personalized widget in the subject line section under the inbox settings of your email in HubSpot. And you might recognize the email subject line on the screen there, as this was the last email you would have received to remind you about today's webinar. But why do this? Well, so according to Campaign Monitor, did you know that emails with personalized subject lines see up to a 26% increase in open rates compared to non-personalized subject lines? So if you're not personalizing your emails already, please start doing so. Then we move on to A/B testing and also smart content rules. So it's crucial to test different elements like, your subject lines, CTAs, or email copy, just to see what resonates best with your audience. Personalization and testing together gives you the data to continuously improve your nurture flows. Just to note that A/B testing for emails is included in HubSpot Marketing Hub Professional and Enterprise subscriptions. So if you're using the starter plan, you would need to upgrade to access this feature. However, that doesn't mean to say that you can't do your own form of A/B testing. You can still simply clone your emails and change them up as you need to. And of course, you also have HubSpot smart content rules, which some of you might already be aware of. But for those that aren't aware of it, this just allows you to personalize, not even just emails. It can be website pages, CTAs, by dynamically displaying different content based on a number of different things. So such as visitors' behavior, location, device, lifecycle stage. There's so many different things you can do. But this just helps you deliver more sort of relevant experiences, just to help boost that engagement and those conversions. And just like with A/B testing, you can set up different variations. Now, I could keep talking about A/B testing and smart rules all day, but I've included a couple of handy links there from HubSpot just for you to check out afterwards if you like. So speaking of testing, time zone scheduling is another smart feature in HubSpot. So you can schedule your emails based on your contact's time zone, ensuring you're reaching them at the best time, whether that's early in the morning or later in the evening. So knowing when your audience is most engaged can significantly boost open and click-through rates. HubSpot's cadence tools also help you plan how often to send out your emails. So are you emailing daily, weekly, or monthly? Finding that right balance is essential. Sending emails too often and spamming your contacts can lead to unsubscribes. Meanwhile, too few emails can cause disengagement. So it's just about getting that balance. But HubSpot's analytics allows you to fine-tune your cadence to match your audience preferences, just ensuring you're reaching them at just the right frequency. And speaking of analytics, that leads me on nicely to the last section I want to cover off, which is all about leveraging data to optimize and refine your nurture flows for future campaigns. So first of all, engagement lists are a powerful way to track and segment contacts based on their actions. So that could be whether they open an email, they click on a link, or they interact with your content. So I've utilized these within so many workflow for email nurture campaigns, and they're really, really easy to put in place. So you can see on the demo there, I've set up a fairly straightforward branch for so that this captures people who either opened the first email or they didn't open the first email in the workflow. And this just puts them into static lists ready for you to analyze and use these lists as you wish going forwards. This just helps you create more targeted and relevant campaigns, ensuring that you're always speaking to your contacts' interests. But let's have a look at how you can take this workflow to another level and leverage data in other ways. So you can use engagement data to move contacts into other workflows depending on their level of interest. For example, if a contact's been engaging heavily with product focused content, they can be automatically moved into a sales workflow with CTAs like booking a demo or requesting a quote. And you can see at the end of this demo that's on a loop, on the left-hand side, there's an action to send the contacts who engaged, i.e. they open the emails, to then be enrolled into the next engagement workflow right at the very end. And those with a keen eye will also notice I've included some additional branches and steps to send out emails with those revised subject lines that I mentioned earlier on, just to try different routes to engage with your contacts. Now, I appreciate that was a really quick run through, but I just hope that, and hopefully this just gives you an idea of some of HubSpot's personalization features that you can use in your campaigns. Now, these are all great, but you'll then want to be able to report and see how well your flows are performing. So we're going to go right back to the beginning where we chatted about your buyer journeys and think about what you were trying to achieve. And, how do you want to report on that? Obviously, you've got HubSpot reports that you can tap into, but the workflows themselves show you the status of how contacts are moving through your flows, as you can see on the left image there. And workflows also have a performance area, which lives under, if you just see on the image on the right there, under view, and then you go to performance. If you go there, this just gives you some insights into the records that have enrolled and just shows how your email's performing, which is really, really handy to have. But yeah, having these reports just shows you what's working and where there's room for improvement, whether that's refining your content or adjusting the time of your emails. That just ensures you're constantly refining your strategy to drive the best results. And just one other bit on reporting before I wrap up. Monitoring engagement throughout nurture flows will inform decisions on content gaps and help you identify where you might be losing people throughout the funnel. And this just helps you when it comes to approaching future campaigns, but it can also help you adapt your existing campaigns that are currently running too. So there's various ways that you can do this in HubSpot reporting, but just remember, what are you trying to achieve? What insight are you trying to gain? So if it's comparing the performance send times, perhaps a bar graph is likely to be more appropriate, like the one on the left there. Or if you're trying to identify where people are dropping off, Sankey reports might be your friend here. That might be the one that might be best for you. So yeah, that's just something to bear in mind and have a think about when it comes to looking at reporting. But yeah, so that's all for today. But just to round up with some key takeaways. So start off by defining those clear campaign goals and understanding your buyer journeys. Know exactly what you want to achieve with your nurture flows to drive conversions and measure success. Then have a think about the triggers you're going to use. So set up smart triggers based on actions, behaviors, or data to automatically enroll contacts at the right time in the right workflow. Please make sure you're using HubSpot's personalization tools like tokens, A/B testing, and that time zone scheduling just to make your emails relevant and engaging. Consider your cadence and find the right rhythm for your email sends to avoid any spamming while staying top of mind. Think about leveraging your engagement data. Continuously track engagement to optimize your nurture flows, just moving your contacts to the next step based on their behaviors. And lastly, always optimize and refine, use data insights to continue to improve your nurture strategy, ensuring it's aligned with your goals and driving long-term success. And just sort of one final takeaway, remember, it's all about sending the right message to the right person at the right time. But yeah, that's all from me today. I'm just going to hand back over to Shah for any questions.
Thanks so much, James. That was so interesting. Yeah, there's just so much you can do with HubSpot, isn't there? It blows
Yeah.
my mind every day. I've had a couple of questions come through privately. If anyone has any other questions, just feel free to pop them in the chat and we can ask James. So the first question I've had, James, if I'm completely new to workflows, which trigger would you recommend starting off with?
Yeah, sure. I personally would recommend going with the manual trigger first. So kind of starting from scratch, having that blank canvas because if you're going in with you don't know about workflows, you're not aware of the kind of triggers you can use and the criteria that's available. I would say it's best to, and I say this to clients all the time, it's best to have a play, just try it out, see what's available. Because if you were going to go down one of the other sort of set triggers, you might think that, oh, perhaps that trigger is not available or that criteria is not available when actually it might just live somewhere else. So just going for the manual route, that just gives you that whole overview of what can be available, and you can go from there and adapt. Yeah, and see what you find.
Nice, thank you. So another question, are there any other places where I can find useful reports for my nurture flows outside of the main reporting area on HubSpot?
Yeah, yeah, good question. So yes, there is. There's quite a few different ways. So obviously you've got your main reporting area with your dashboards, and you've got your built-in HubSpot reports. That's obviously one way. You've got Breeze that you can generate reports as well. Your Copilot in the top right of your screen. You might see there's like a little diamond icon. But some of my go-to for reporting, especially when it comes to emails. So first of all, on the email section itself on HubSpot, you might have noticed it before, there's like an analyze tab. And if you go on there, there's already some reports pre-built within there, just gives you some really good analysis on how your emails are doing. Of sticking with emails, if you actually click into the email itself, you'll have this performance and analysis tab straight away. If you scroll down, and it just gives you a full breakdown. It gives you like insights on who's unsubscribed, who's clicked, who's opened. It's also got a heat map of where people are clicking. So that's a really good place to look at as well. Other areas, I would say, I touched on this a little bit earlier on, but campaigns, whenever you assign this applies to multiple assets, not just emails, but whenever you're associating your assets with a particular campaign, that groups them all together, and it just shows you those associations with how they're working with each other. And yeah, that's really handy to have as well. And of course, within the workflows themselves, I know I touched on this as well, but in the performance area, there's some good breakdowns in there too.
Nice, thank you. We've had a couple more questions. So, do you know if there's any way of testing the spam score of an email before you send it on HubSpot?
Say that again, Charlotte. Spam.
Do you know if there's any way of testing the spam score of an email before you send it on HubSpot?
So there are, if you do your testing, there are testing emails available. Again, with the A/B testing, you've also got there's a UX feature as well, just to help you test between whether not just with the spam, but also with like dark and light mode stuff like that. You'll also get one thing to sort of bear in mind as well when it comes to actually sending out test emails. Um, Send it to yourself first before you obviously launch your campaigns, just to see how it's loading with UX and stuff like that. But you'll also see it's quite handy if it cuts off. So if your content's too long, essentially, we've had this before with some other examples where like, oh no, you need to keep it trim. Obviously, you don't want to bore people, but it just makes recommendations like this is where it's going to cut off. So yeah, there's a few different ways in there if you do your email testing.
Nice, thank you. One last question. Can you set up triggers from feedback form responses? Can you also tag people with specific feedback form responses?
Yes. So with feedback forms, yeah, you can filter by specific forms themselves within different triggers. They cover off the ones I covered off earlier, the different trigger types that fits into quite a few. So that's manual. Also, when I know I covered off about when certain properties change. So if someone submits a form, you can do that as well. And obviously, if it was to come to certain if you wanted to target certain people in particular, you can also do that through list memberships as well. So you've got active and static lists. In this case, if it was for forms, you'd probably want that to be an active list, as that constantly updates and adds people in as they submit, whereas static lists are just sort of in the moment. So say if Charlotte, you submitted a form yesterday, and that was a static list, and then I was to submit a form, the same form today, but again, still static list, I wouldn't go into static because it's just for that moment in that time. So in this case, you want it to be active, and then so that would also capture me as well as Charlotte. And you can also obviously trigger your workflows with the list memberships too.
Can I just ask another quick question on forms?
Go for it, yes.
So if somebody selects a certain multiple choice answer within a form,
Mhm.
can you then like tag that answer within the contact?
Yes, so it will sit, so that will sit under a property in
Yeah,
the record. So that probably, based on what you're saying there, Emily, would probably be a custom property, I would imagine.
yeah, yeah.
But that also applies to just default HubSpot multiple checkbox properties as well. But if you want to see that on records, you can customize the different views on there as well. So on the left-hand side, there's a few different areas, but when you go into the record, there's like these cards on the left, and you can just update those and add those as you need just to get that customized view.
And can you automate that to do it?
Yeah, so that will, once the contact has filled in the form and they've selected that, that will pull in straight away to HubSpot and it will let you know this person has submitted this. That's what's associated with it.
Okay. So do you set that up through the feedback form or do you set it up through the property?
So I would do that via, the answer to that is actually both. You can do it either way.
Okay.
So within the form itself, you can create a custom property whilst you're building the form there and then.
Right.
But if you say if it wasn't for forms and you just wanted to see it in general, and you were importing data or you were just updating data yourself, you do that via the property setup itself, just creating it from within there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's really useful.
Perfect. Well, thank you all so much for coming. I think that's all the questions, James. Yeah, hope everyone found it useful. If you did and you'd like to leave us a Google review, we'd absolutely love that. They go such a long way. But yeah, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn if you're not already. And we hope to see you all again soon.